Welcome to the Rising Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Mark J. Silverman. Today's guest is a brilliant and experienced executive coach, entrepreneur, advisor, who knows so much about the nuts and bolts of business, how to run businesses, how to merge businesses, how to grow teams, everything you want from people like us. But that's not the conversation we're going to be having today. And that's not why I asked him to be on the podcast today. It's more because of who he is, the vibe he brings, his love of people, which is just so apparent in every interview I've seen and everything I've seen him write and share on social media. His love of people just really shone through. And I have a specific topic I would like him to talk about today. But officially, Jonathan Bennett is an author. He's an advisor and executive coach for purpose-driven leaders who need help solving their organization's toughest obstacles. With experience in urban, rural, remote, and First Nations communities, coaching, drawing on 25 years of creativity and leadership success as a CEO, a board member, a founder, again, tons and tons of experience in the trenches. He's known for his deep listening and his breakthrough solutions that create insights and new strategies. Jonathan believes leadership should be inclusive, ethical, and deeply intentional. He is committed to helping leaders not only succeed, but also lead with integrity, compassion, and impact. And that's why you're here, because of who you are, Jonathan. Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, it's thanks for saying all those lovely things, Mark. It's really a pleasure to be here with you.
Before we get into any topics, what drives you? There's just such a vast experience of different types of people and business. What drives you to do what you do?
I'm in a really fortunate place at this stage in my career. I've done lots of things, and I'm at the phase where I get to give back and support other people to do things that I've done before, and so I get a real delight and joy of holding some pretty intimate spaces. Um, Folks tell me all kinds of really hard, difficult things that they're going through. Sometimes big hopes and big dreams, and
Mm.
everything in between. And so I'm driven by that. I get to serve people and be with them and walk alongside them, be encouraging, be demanding, be whatever they need me to be. And I get a lot of drive from that work. So I feel very, very fortunate.
You bring a ton of expertise to your clients and anybody who interacts with you. What percentage would you say you spend on, how they're being, who they're being, what, the way they're dealing with things rather than what they're dealing with?
Yeah. I don't know if I actually know the percentage breakdown. I'm always sort of trying to attune to what is happening in front of me. Is this a personal development thing that we're working on? Is this a kind of ethical conundrum,
Mm.
or is it something really pragmatic and practical? Like, are we just actually struggling with how we're, managing our focus or managing our time, or is it a delegation issue? Um, you know, there's no one place to enter into those kinds of conversations, but I spend a lot of time just sort of asking myself, where are we right now? Where should this go? What does this person need the most in order for me to serve them well?
It's funny for me. I think I find 9 times out of 10, the folks I'm talking to know what to do. Is just how do we take the clouds out of between that and what they're supposed to be doing, right? And just kind of zamboni that a little bit, and then they seem
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
Oh, thanks, Mark. That was all I
yeah,
needed. Ready to go.
yeah. It's great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Totally,
most of
totally.
my clients
Yeah,
are
there's
way
a
smarter.
Yeah, there's a lot of obviously, you can't have subject matter expertise everywhere, and I don't pretend to. And you're right, like a lot of people know functionally, at least what their options are. They might not necessarily be ready to make the decision. But I find that I can, a bit like you said, best support them when I help them get in touch with themselves and find out what's blocking them, or from find out what is preventing them from being able to either take the decision or make the leap, or whatever it is. And it can be a really nuts and bolts business issue, or it can be something that's large and kind of fundamental in their life. They might be at the big T intersection of their career.
Mm. Yeah, there's so much there's so many factors that go into every decision, and every choice that they make. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is
Hmm.
what you just talked about, delegation and
Hmm.
basically working, success through others. One of the topics that you speak about is building honest agreements with people, the art of real delegation, which I love. Just can you just explain to me what that means to you? Because my listeners know what I've said about it forever. What does it mean to you?
Right. Right. I mean, I think, on some level, like we were talking before, like Steve Chandler kind of, framed up this really nicely. And in my work, what he says about it dovetails into how I understand delegation. Like, I think that, you can spend a lot of time and ask a lot of people, but nobody, took the course on delegation, right? Like it's just not something that people take. Like people, it's an intuitive thing that people, you somehow should know how to do it. And you find yourself in middle management because you've been great within a domain. You've gained a level of expertise, so much so that people want you to lead the other people to do that. And so suddenly the new job as middle manager is a brand new job. And you have never done that job before. You've only been good at what you used to do. And so that first leap for folks into management is a real struggle. And one of the earliest things they really struggle with is to delegate. I mean, basically on some level, like the definition of management is getting work done through other people or systems or processes, right? And so how do you go about letting go of all of the things that gave you all of those dopamine hits that were so great at getting you to where you are at? And so that is an early piece of work I think a lot of leaders do, is how to build trust and allow their teams to do the work as they've set it out. But the spiral that a lot of folks get into is they have a lot in their heads. They're really, really good, and they've done this before many, many times themselves. And so they have a new team member or even a long-standing team member. A new project comes along. They're like, "Hey, we've got this thing. It's due in a month. Here are all the things I want you to do," and they prattle off about 50% of what needs to be done. And the other 50% is like air. It's just so obvious to them. Like, why would you even need to say it? Unfortunately, the person that they're delegating to doesn't know all of this stuff as intimately or as well as they do. And so they want to be great. They madly take notes. They scramble, struggle, do the best they can, hold on to it too long, don't ask for help, and inevitably they deliver it slightly late and incomplete. And the response of our, manager is, no, now I'm going to have to either double down, say what I said before, except louder, and start to maybe micromanage them. Or, what would be quicker and actually give me the love that I love? Swoop in and save the day, right? Just scoop it and take it back. And so over time, that pattern repeats itself. And we either teach folks on our teams that we're going to micromanage them, or actually, what we really want to do is do it ourselves anyway. And so you just need to get it 50% done, and he'll take it the rest of the way. And so the way out of it is really what Steve Chandler was talking about, which is how do we build agreements with people? I think great agreements get built slowly, and you take your time up front. And it's through really a lot of appreciative inquiry. Even though you might know where this is going, you have to be open-minded and open-hearted enough to think that maybe this will happen in a different way, and that this person that is going to be doing the work needs to design the work for themselves. And they need to design the steps. You're just there to provide them some structure, and so that can sound like, hey, we have a project that's come down from on high that we have to deliver. How do you feel about that? Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess like good, cool. Like, what do you think should be the first few steps? Oh, you want it from me? Yeah. Like, what do you think? Well, probably, I mean, normally when we do projects like this, like we'll start with a Gantt chart and then we'll break it into phases. That sounds good. You should like, let's start here. You take the pen, you start writing. So I'll just pause here for a second in this little thing. Um, there are a lot of us that are trained to be note takers. And so when we take notes in a meeting, it's habitual but we're actually taking a lot of the learning ability and capacity to retain the information away from our team members and we're hoarding it.
Mm,
So I really encourage folks, if you're a note taker, don't take the official notes for the meeting. Take your own private notes just to, for your own sense of that's how you learn and remember. But who actually is documenting the meeting needs to be the people that are doing the work because then you get it two ways. After the meeting's over, they're going to write you an email summarizing it or send it in Slack or whatever's going to happen. And that gets to get retained. And you then have their record of what they've agreed to, which helps build this agreement. So back on track, they're writing it down. You're walking through just a series of open-ended questions. And then what would you do? And then what would happen? Oh, that's so interesting. And so how would we know if that worked? Okay, great. What resources might you need? Cool. How can I be helpful along the way? Great. When will you need me? What if we were to schedule those meetings now up front? I've noticed in the past, sometimes you get a bit stuck and you hold on to work too long. What would be a way for us to solve for that before it was to happen this time? Oh, we could meet more frequently, but for shorter times. That sounds great. Would you like to schedule that as well? Great. Let's be really clear. Repeat back to me what you think the final deliverable is and what the main milestones are along the way. Great. What should happen if we find ourselves going off the rails here? What should I do? How should I behave? Oh, okay. You want me to call you on it and you want me to call an immediate meeting. You don't want me to wait. Okay, great. That's what we'll do. Write all that down, send that back to me. So, do you agree? Do we have an agreement that this is how this project's going to go? After we've dealt with all of that and we've got that written down and framed up, then the level of buy-in, the old line, they won't,
mm.
you know, they won't battle the plan, like if they plan the battle,
Yeah.
like if they've built the agreement and really you're just signing off on it, there's a ton of accountability that's inherent in their work there. And so it is a really different skill set to extract an agreement from somebody through appreciative inquiry than it is by just top-down dumping of information and tasks and delegation. So I'll just pause there, but that's how I think about it.
That was what I loved about what you just did was it split the difference for me of two ends of the spectrum, both of them creating very strong and very clear agreements. One is just delegating, making sure everybody knows exactly what's needed, when it's needed, all that stuff. Which is still it doesn't create autonomous leaders. It makes sure the work gets done the way you want it, but it doesn't create that. Where another conversation where I had was just so much more in curiosity, a little more amorphous.
Mhm.
And while I was listening to this, though I love the way this person went about teaching this topic, I was thinking about my clients who there's a lot of high stakes
Yeah.
to uh, the giving too much leash. You want to create a lead, but there's just this the stakes are a little too high, and you just threaded the needle for me in both. It was very full of inquiry, full of curiosity, full of building autonomy, and you ended up at the same place with a very clear objective and how to keep track of that.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's I think the last little piece I did there, if people were noticing, is I built in an upfront verbal contract about how we're going to course correct. So one thing that will help things not go off the rail is if you were talking with kids, you bake in the consequences into the agreement, right? So how we're going to manage. Like a lawyer would, right? Like, what happens if this doesn't go well? Well, we're going to use mediators first, and then we'll agree to go to court. Like, in our like informal, fluid kinds of agreements that we build, if we build the consequences in up front, the chances of them actually being need to be triggered go way down
Mm.
because people are agreeing to what they need and want from you as their manager or as their leader before it's even happened. And so the chances of it going wrong go way down.
How does this change as you move up the ladder, as you get more senior in the organization, and the people that you're working with are more senior? How does this change?
Yeah, I don't think it changes like it ought not to change in a broad sense. I work with CEOs all the time that I think are really good at building agreements. I think as folks get closer and closer to the C-suite and or are, on the nut as a CEO, if they're not building agreements, then they're in the weeds and they're not really doing CEO work.
Right.
So, a good CEO is thinking, what's after what's next? And how do I position this organization strategically for success? There's no way I'm doing that work, right? And so I've got folks around me that are at a senior enough and skilled enough level that they too are building agreements with the people. I mean, you can cascade the agreements essentially is what I'm saying. And so everyone knows where their pieces are, and everybody knows how they're connected in, and that's when we get a kind of organizational alignment. But I think that the empowering part to your question, ought to go up and down. I mean, wonderful organizational cultures. When you dig into it, people are feeling like deeply accountable because it's psychologically safe, and they know how their work matters. They know what good looks like. They know how to contribute. They are recognized. Like all of these pieces are involved in that because of the agreements that are built, and because people follow up and follow through.
So someone makes a huge mistake, and the consequences are are consequential, not just trivial. What's that conversation look like?
Yeah, I think it begins by saying this is a hard conversation to have, and that we name it and frame it. And that what I'd like to come out of this conversation is that we come up with an agreement together of how we're going to clean up what's just happened and ensure that it doesn't happen again. Do you agree that that's the kind of conversation we should have together?
Hmm.
So I'd begin like that. The next part is for me, I'd be hearing it in their own words, and I'd be using tools like mirroring and reflecting back. So walk me through. You've had a day or two to think about it now, Mark. I know already from your body language you're not feeling great. Can you just give me the plot and the characters? Just tell me what happened and how it happened. And then I just listened, and I'd be repeating back to this person, like, so what I'm hearing you say is that A happened and then B happened. Am I tracking? Great. So I'm making that person feel really, really heard. And then I'm probably going to use some coaching tools. Like I'm going to say things like, uh, what went well here? What might you do differently next time? What have you noticed about yourself in those moments? Are there some regrets? What are you pleased about? Not everything went bad here. And so I'd be using questions like that. I'd gather it up at the end, and I'd be asking them, okay, so here's what we've had. Here's the overall thing. Uh, are there practical things? Are there non-practical things that we need to
Hmm.
do? Practically, maybe there's some SOPs that we need to build. Maybe the processes and systems are weak. Maybe we don't have the right people with the right skill sets on the team. Okay, great. We list them out. Probably that's not a problem. It's going to be the personal failings. I didn't come forward early enough. I didn't take accountability. I covered for somebody. I didn't, whatever the things are. And like, I'd just be holding them up to say, you've identified that. How do you want to make sure that that doesn't happen again? What kinds of supports, training? How can I support you to not be different? So that's what comes up for me.
Right. They're beautiful and textbook, loving, curious, grounded and centered. Now that's on the podcast here with a conversation with you and I. Now we're working with real people.
Yeah.
The consequences either triggered fear or
Yeah.
something in the CEO or the leader who is now having to have this conversation.
Hmm.
What do you do with your leaders to get them in the frame, to teach them to become that person that can have that conversation?
I teach them to, and I support them to pay a lot of attention to how they're showing up and to get good at noticing what's happening. I mean, all of us have work to do on ourselves. And so the faster we are aware of how we're behaving inside a difficult conversation or a tense meeting, whether we know, oh yeah, I'm the sort of person that just freezes, or I shut down, or I go in the attack, or if I get triggered or if I'm having a bad day, here's what I do, or like I don't know, for a lot of men, like I just talk too much. I just let it rip. I don't have any self-awareness. I don't have any break. And so I work with leaders to help them understand themselves and how they're showing up and how people around them are seeing them. and how they're being received. And that can just, those subtle shifts can change everything for them. Like a CEO, for example, that just sucks all the oxygen out of the room. If they learn some basic listening skills, like deep listening skills, just like I mentioned, like mirroring, for example, like it's life changing for them. It's like they've just learned, like they've cracked a cheat code to this whole other way of being. And like it can affect their personal relationships. Like I've worked with CEOs and I'm like, just try it with your partner and just for a minute or two, repeat back to them with, you know, no editorial. Just repeat back to them factually what you think you just heard. Just try that. And they're like, it's mind blowing, right? And I
Right.
mean, these are simple
What is this?
skills.
What is this
What is
magic?
this? What is this magic? I mean, these are simple skills, but they're not used a lot, and we haven't typically rewarded them in this sort of patriarchal society, capitalistic world that we live in. We haven't rewarded these skills, but people that learn them and know how to do them are the people that we describe as like really thoughtful, wise, deep listeners. Like all these kinds of characteristics that we want, like in executive presence, all of that stuff, that's actually what people are doing. Like
Mhm.
practically and functionally, that's how they're behaving. They're not leaping to the answer. They're not scooping up people's work. They're sitting with curiosity longer. They're self-aware. They're managing their emotions and they're like aware of what's happening to themselves in themselves. Like that stuff is like deep work. And I mean, you can get to it through therapy. Some coaches can really support with that work, but ultimately it's yours to do. However
Mhm.
you get there, whatever methodology or method that you like want to employ.
Yeah, a lot of this work is not done in the boardroom in that conversation. It's how are you taking care of yourself outside so that when you're in that moment, you meet the moment. I love what you just
That's right.
said. Michael Bungay Senior talks about that all the time. Can you stay curious longer?
Totally.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Keep the
such a
horses in
hard thing
line.
to
Yeah.
do.
It's very hard to do. It really is a muscle that needs exercising. After you learn the principles, you still suck at it. Like it's just that it's kind of like a lifetime of work, that sort of that kind of metacognition is really what we're talking about. How do you get up and out of yourself and notice what's happening physiologically, like in your body? How do you notice what feelings and thoughts are coming up, and then whether or not they're going to serve you? Like, do I need to jump in right now, or do I need to just sit on this and be curious about it longer? And I mean, there's no right answer, but most of us aren't having that conversation with ourselves. We're just going, blah, or we're just like going, powering down, right? And like, neither of those things might be the best course of action for you in the moment.
Yeah, I could have done that better every time you walk away from something like that. Very,
Mm.
very cool. So that leads into the next topic I really am curious with you about. Uh, Not everybody gets a coach in an organization. You read books, you're trying to figure things out. How about coaches and mentors and advisors at work? How do you help people navigate and look towards that?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So, I actually call myself an advisor primarily. I use coaching as a tool, and I use mentorship all the time, and I do some teaching as well. I also do consulting work. So I wear lots of different, and I sit on boards, and so I do governance work, right? Like, so I use a bunch of different tools. I guess I primarily call myself an advisor because it's the term that for me captures elements of all of these things in a way that I think is sort of like congruent with how people receive it. So I give too much advice to call myself a coach. I just do. I know I do, and I don't want to change. So I know those things about
I love
myself.
you. I say the same. I just say I'm a terrible coach because I tell people what to do way
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah. I totally do. And I've got, there are, for the pure coaches that are listening to this, I have too much respect and it is a methodology that is valid and wonderful. And I just can't see it through to the end. And so, like what I hit up against, Mark, just to be really honest with you, is like, I'll be coaching somebody and peeling off questions and questions and questions. And at some point in a business context, there are three different ways through this that I could like, or I just need to see the financials. Like
Mhm.
I have to just see the thing or whatever. Uh, and I can tell this person genuinely doesn't know what to do. Like it ain't in there for me to pull out. And so what am I, I just don't know what to do at that point. Like to me, that is just a dead end. And that's where I can't live with just coaching. That's where I'm like, I've seen this done three ways before. Let me here, or I, as often as not, when I've got somebody's trust and I know them well and they're confronting a big problem, I'll be like, you seem unwilling to make this decision. Everything that I'm hearing you
Mm.
say is this, like, you know, like let's game it out. Like let's do it. And so I'll help them make a decision. And I'm crossing all those boundaries, and so I want to. I literally want to cross those boundaries. I want that's what I perceive my clients want from me, and the kind of support that I particularly give. And so I just try and stay attuned to that, and I just do the work in a way that feels good for me.
You just gave me permission and language for the way I show up
Oh,
for the
yeah.
past decade and a half. I just appreciate that so much. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want to I don't want to change. I like the way I do this. My
Yeah.
clients seem to like the way I do it. But let's switch gears to just
Okay.
internally, looking
Yeah.
for mentors internally. How do you look for someone who's going to help you with your career, but also grow as a leader?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is if you identify somebody that you see as a mentor, tell them. The number of times that people have said to me, Jonathan, I really, see you as a mentor. I'm like, well, if you'd told me, I would have done a way better job. I would have showed up with a lot more vim and vigor, and I swear I would have like actively and far more intentionally given of my time and resources and capabilities. I felt like you were just hanging out. And so that would be my first piece of advice would be to just, you don't need to make it formal, like we don't need to sign an agreement here. But I do think actively saying to somebody, I genuinely have come to see you as a mentor. I wonder if we could meet more regularly under that banner. Would you be comfortable with that? What could that look like for you? I don't need, particular things from you. I just want to be able to bring you ideas and problems and that sort of thing. What you'll get from a mentor is different than what you'll get from a coach or an advisor. So let's be clear about that. That mostly it's not paid. Like sometimes I do professional mentorship where I'm getting paid and basically I'm kind of teaching people how to do their jobs. And so that to me is a different thing. The kind of informal internal mentorship, like somebody that's like two rungs up the ladder, corporate ladder than you and adjacent in a different department that you have gotten some FaceTime with who you really admire, for you to go to them and say, I would really love some mentorship. I'm wondering whether we could meet, once a month for coffee. Like the kind of thing, like there's no prep, there's no particular methodology. They're just going to be a kind, wise soul and support you and ask you hopefully some good questions and give you some of the stories that help them along the way. It's wonderful. It's grist for the mill. They'll be an internal champion for you. Some people are excellent at activating networks inside an organization. They have multiple mentors. Uh,
Invaluable.
I highly recommend it. If you're feeling isolated in your role, then it can be on you to find folks that are just outside your channel to help you get some breadth and exposure across a larger organization for sure.
Question that just came out of the blue from the peanut gallery
Mm.
of my head. So someone comes to you and says that to you, I see you as a mentor. Would you mind spending some time with me? And you just don't think highly of that person. What conversation do you have with them?
I would say to them, to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm the right fit for you. Can you tell me, though, I'm happy to refer you and find somebody who would be good for you. So maybe you could just, let's spend a couple minutes. Why don't you tell me a bit about what you're hoping to get from a mentor? And then I would listen carefully. I would say, what's even, why this, why now? So, why are you wondering about a mentor? Because usually, I want a mentor because there's a reason. I want to get a promotion, or I want to, like, I'm worried I'm going to get fired, or like there's something going on. So, if quickly I can, like, extract that, then maybe the answer isn't I need a mentor. It's I need something else. I need
Mm.
training. I need a new job. I need something, right? And so maybe there's a different piece of advice I can give them, like which would sound like what I'm hearing is X, Y, and Z. So it's maybe not really a mentor. It's maybe more this. And so I would redirect. If it's like, oh, that sounds like a mentor could be really supportive for you. Uh, who else have you thought of? And if I might know one of those people, I'd be like, would you like my help reaching out to them and setting up that conversation for you? I'd be happy to make that introduction. And so, I'm trying to be kind, even though I don't think that I'm the right person. Or maybe I just like, let's just be real. Like for some people, it's like, you can't get there from here, right?
Mhm.
Like they want things and you just genuinely can't for free and out of the goodness of your heart spend the time in a place that you don't think that you're going to like as the Quebecers say the conditions for success might not be
Right.
there, right? And so sometimes that's true, and so if that's true for you, if that's your assessment, then you have to be authentic and honest with yourself. I don't think you need to hurt people's feelings. So I do think you can couch it in such a way that's a bit of a redirect.
Nice. So to wrap this up, what do you think most leaders need in order to be their best? What's kind of like a foundational thing that leaders aren't giving themselves or availing themselves of that they need?
It's really hard to boil it down to one thing. I guess I guess it's different at different times in people's journeys. For earlier leaders, getting the core skills down are really important. These are managerial skills, and everybody wants to leap to leadership, but get your management skills down pat. Learn how
Nice.
to manage your time, your focus, learn how to delegate, learn how to project manage, learn how to enroll people in the kinds of projects that they're going to be excited about, learn how to build agreements. Like getting those kind of core skills down and getting really, really good at them is just great. And it's going to set you up for what you're going to need because you're going to need them forever. So might as well learn them early as opposed to, when you're the senior executive vice president who doesn't know how to delegate because, they wash up on my shore all the time. So that would be the first thing. Later on, I think it's about learning strategy and about learning how to think ahead and game stuff out. Uh, and that's on the sort of on the business side. On the personal side, it's learning who you really are, learning, how you show up and the kinds of things that we talked about earlier, having a level of self-awareness and metacognition. There, I think the things that give you sort of executive presence. And the final thing is really like your ethical model and it's your values and understanding where your own boundaries are for what you are willing and not willing to do, what you're willing and not willing to put up with, um, for knowing when and how you need to say no and when and how you need to say yes and what's sitting underneath that and what your values are and what your ethical model is. These are, I think, some of the final pieces to come when an organization is relying on you to be its moral compass.
I knew you would overachieve on that question. Thank you so much. I love the piece where you started. Learn how to be a manager before you learn how to be a leader. Get those skills in first. I like that a lot. So if people want to more of you, where would they find you?
Yeah, so I have if you're curious about working with me, I have a kind of a private podcast, 6 episodes. I recorded real sessions with real leaders, and I just have it as a podcast that you can listen to, and it's just me doing my work. So feel free to plug into that, and I'll share the direct link with you, Mark. Otherwise, folks, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm a real person. I answer DMs, and I'm happy if something I've said kind of resonates with you and you'd like to connect. Feel free to book some time with me.
Well, yeah, we'll put all of that in the show notes so that people don't have to go fumbling around. So I appreciate that link to that podcast because I saw it on your LinkedIn. So it's a great resource. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here. I really appreciate your wisdom and your expertise.
Really
Everybody
appreciate
else,
it. Thanks so much.
like again, this is always a master class for me. I've been doing this for a long time, and I learn a ton when I sit with a master like Jonathan. So thank you for being here. Thank you. I love you a ton. Have a great rest of the day.